Okay, so you just read a post about these bottles and how the songs that we sing, the hymns that we've done, the modern songs that we do, are just the carriers. They just transport um, the content and provide the refreshing or provide the purpose, the conduit to worship with. So so what does that mean? How do you integrate that into your own life, into your own church? Well, a couple of takeaways for me um, is that music means stuff to people, right? So you like it, or they like it, or we like it. Like it just keep in mind that music matters. Music means something. Not in the sense of like you're more spiritual or you're less spiritual or you're more on fire for God or you're more dead. Not like that. Just music matters. Like people like stuff. Dude, there's a lot of different radio stations for a reason. People just like different styles of music. So keep that in mind because you're playing music, you're leading worship for a specific group of people and they have specific desires and likes. So keep that in mind. Um, Also think about how you stretch people then. If if I have this kind of music and this kind of music in my mind has pitfalls, has shortcomings, has things that don't quite work, like let's say for hymns for me, the music, the cadence is real predictable. Sometimes the words are just clunky and not how I would say them, that they're not how people talk these days. Um, they sometimes they're really hard for a band to get around if you're playing with a band, and sometimes they the instruments and the things that we try to put with them just get in the way. So if I'm going to play a hymn, I'm going to think about those things, and so I might not. I might do it a cappella because the hymns were written a cappella. They work great that way. Maybe you can get a couple of different parts to read the notes, so you can actually have the parts. It sounds beautiful, but because it's old and clunky, the words are old and clunky because they were written a long time ago. But then there's also something about like this is like my grandma's or this is my great 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 grandma's or grandpa's song and words. So that gives us we tend to get into this mode where here's the church, it's today, it's these, the last 5 years is the church, or the last 10 years, like, especially if you're in a startup church and it's only a year old, or it's only 20 years old, you're finally celebrating your 20-year anniversary. But like the church is really really long. It's been around for a long time, and so how can I maybe bring something from there and even highlight something about that so that these words no longer feel clunky. They feel like I just dusted off this ancient treasure. And saints who were alive in the 1500s sang this song. How do we find something this old? It's amazing. And have some of that in it. Same way, flip it around, like, okay, the modern songs, they have a different. If you're used to hymns and you're trying to sing a modern song, hey, this might be tricky to sing, and you might only hear melody. Like even if I just say that might be helpful. Like I know this might be tricky for you to sing. We're gonna sing the verses and join in on the chorus. Here's how the chorus goes. Let me teach this to you. Let's sing this together because it's important for us to sing this. This is something that God is doing right now that we need to sing together. But if I can kind of help people, let people know that I know that this is different for you. You might not say this word like this normally, but this is something that's happening in our culture, and this is some of us being able to be to make the gospel understandable in modern language and modern feel. So music matters. Music is something people like it. Like don't forget about that. But the other thing is we need to call each other to higher levels of discipleship. My goodness, like what does it say that there are so many churches who have a traditional and a contemporary service? Or churches who have only one kind. Like wouldn't it make sense that we as a church would do the church's music and not just get pigeonholed into one little thing? Like, what does it say about us? Now there's lots of different reasons that we might have started traditional or contemporary services, but what if that's an indicator that on some level we're just not quite as healthy as a church as we could be? We are not quite as mature as a church as we could be. In other words, it's like I don't know, maybe this metaphor works. So your grandma comes to live with you, and she doesn't like spicy food. And actually, it'd be more interesting. And she loves spicy food. So you start eating meals together because you live together now. These different generations, different preferences live together, and so you're trying to eat. You're trying to cook a meal that she'll like and that you'll like that will nourish you. But rather than figuring out how to make that work, you say, "Well, Grandma, it'd be nice and all, but why don't you? There's another room over there. Can you just get some food for yourself and cook in there? You can put your own stuff on it and make it as hot as you want to. We don't want to do that here because we don't like hot food. Sorry. Are we cool? And we'll get together some other time. Once a quarter we'll have a meal together." I mean, like, what the heck? How silly is that? So what about instead of saying, okay, so can you tell me how you started liking that hot food, Grandma? Tell me the stories about that. Because, that kind of gets me into like, well, I want to kind of experiment. I'm not drawn to that food, but I'll try it out. And so because we live together, friends, because we worship together, because we're a community, we need to have conversations to figure this stuff out and not just be like, well, those people, like, if I hear those people again, or they in a church, I'll have to roll my eyes yet again and pray, Jesus, can we be one as the Father wanted us to be one? So is there a way that we can get to know each other and hear each other's stories and figure out, okay, how can we live together then? I mean, I recently put a note up on where I'm trying this thing out where, there's always the volume wars always exist in an intergenerational context. And so I put out a box of earplugs. Now, my first sign on that said, sensitive ears receive special care here. And some people didn't like that. I was like, okay, that's fine. I get it. I mean, I don't, well, because it feels like it's blaming them for their sensitive ears, instead of saying, hey, we like it loud. So here's some earbuds because we like it loud. And like taking the responsibility for that. So the new sign on it says, we are a gloriously intergenerational congregation. Some of us like it softer. Some of us like it louder. These earbuds help us to worship together because they make the sound a little bit softer. Like, so here you go. I'm trying to say, let's look out for each other in a way that doesn't just, squash everything and say, well, let's just turn it down. Let's just make it, unengaging for the rest of the congregation. But for the rest of the congregation, it's too loud. So let's work at this in an understanding way. And I don't know if it's going to work. I'm just trying things out because I'm committed to working in a way that brings us all in together, that helps us to understand, because this is to me it's primarily not a style question, it's a discipleship and a maturity question. Can we lay down our lives for each other? Can we learn to worship together? Can we lay down our preferences and stop calling hymns holy and stop calling modern worship the only way of doing things? Like, can we be together already? Like, what the world? Like, how? I didn't want to say what the heck, and then I said what the world, which is like just trying to talk. And then I was self-conscious about that, and so I'm telling you that. So anyway, just a couple of thoughts on that fertilizer, because we get to choose, and I visualize congregations who have learned to worship well together, who don't fight over their preferences, and who love God more than they love their music, and they love each other more than they love their musical preferences. So here's to that. Thanks, Aspen, for the model. See you guys.